a few minutes' time. But we welcome you to our coverage here on the Home of Champions. My name is Donald Oliver, and I'm with Kynan Cook, who joins me again in the commentary box this year. We're looking forward to another fantastic morning of cycling.
Yes, Donald. Morning cycling fans. We had a great race last year, and I think this year's edition is going to be much more competitive. We have a bigger field, and we have much more international riders and local riders in the field this year. I think we have double the amount of entrants this year as we did last year. So we're looking for a really competitive run in this year.
What is it that you're anticipating this year as opposed to what we saw last year, which was a successful staging of this event?
I think because of the success of last year's event, we have a lot more people interested in wanting to be a part of it this year. And I think the winner last year and his team were so much better organized than any other team in the race. And I think the other local teams in the race this year have learned from that. And I think they're going to come much more organized and much more prepared to race.
Okay, so the route takes us from Witter Village to Falmouth to Rose Hall, back to Falmouth, and then back to where it all begins at Witter Village. And again, it covers 57 miles or approximately 90 kilometers. And we're going to be here for a couple of hours as the riders will go through this route. But yeah, this is a very interesting stage. A lot of it mostly flat, especially at the beginning when you're going from Witter Village to Falmouth and then Falmouth to back to Witter Village. But as we take a look at the top 6 contenders here, Andy Scarano is back. He's the defending champion out of Georgia in the United States, and you expect him to do really well this year. Akil Campbell, we have Jerome Forrest, who actually won a stage last year but was disqualified. I believe it was the second stage due to a technicality. But yeah, all these names and more expected to make an impact.
Yep, there are a few more riders that aren't mentioned here that we can expect a good showing from. There's a junior who represented last year and did very well, Kajor Shu. There's Andrew Ramsey and there's Russell Small. Quite a few riders who are in good shape now. Today, yes, the course is relatively flat with 1 or 2 rises in it, but what's going to be a problem today is the breeze. We're riding into a headwind from Witter Village towards Falmouth, and then we turn around, come back to Rose Hall, and then back to Falmouth in a headwind. So the tailwind is coming home, but I believe a lot of the damage we'll see today will probably be on the second loop into the headwind towards Falmouth.
Yeah, and we're taking a shot at Falmouth right now, and of course that's the dock here where the cruise ships do come in. We're going to see a very scenic route this morning, and we're certainly looking forward to many of these shots unfolding. But yeah, the route on this first stage, again, Witter Village to Falmouth, to Rose Hall, to Falmouth, and back to Witter Village, and this is where we begin at Witter Village.
Yep, it's going to be a fun race. Today's race may take 2 hours, 2 hours 5 minutes, possibly a little more, a little less, but they'll probably be averaging about 27 miles an hour on this route today.
Of course, the team in grey, a team 706P, a team that would include the defending champion Andy Scarano, and we're certainly looking forward to see how he will fare this time around, because the riders, they know him very well, and last time out he really dominated, didn't he?
I don't believe he's going to have as easy a ride as he did last year. He's a marked man now.
Most definitely, I would agree with you that he's a marked man now. But yeah, we really are looking forward to this event. Last year was a success.
He did show us clearly last year, Scarano did, that he was the man to beat. And if he comes with that shape this year and the others haven't gotten themselves closer to him, I think we'll see something similar. But he is a marked man this year, and they're going to be coming for him.
Yeah, the race is expected to start off in just a few minutes. There was a little bit of a delay because the police officers weren't there at the beginning, but I believe that they're there now, and it's just a matter of time before they start their journey. Yep,
tense moments at the start. There we can see the 706 team to your right. The Jamaican flag team is the Cornwall team.
There's Carano from second to right. He's now in the far right. Second to right now, in the white helmet. At the top of the queue in the red helmet, that looks to be Chad Conley. Both of those gentlemen from Atlanta in the United States, and they worked in tandem well last year. And it's always interesting as well to see the dynamic of the riders of the different teams, to see how they work together during the race.
Yeah, the 706 team was by far the most organized team and the most experienced team at the race last year. And here we see them. It looks like they're having a rolling start. They'll probably get into open racing in a couple of moments here when they get out of Witta Village.
Yeah, we have quite a few teams represented. The black, green and gold indicates a Jamaican squad. That's actually Cornwall Cycling Club. We did have a Jamaica under 23 squad last year.
We had that last year, and I think they've merged that into a few other teams this year. There's no particular under 23 team this year.
But quite a few of the youngsters are back though.
A lot of the youngsters are riding, some very talented youngsters riding with the 706 team, and they'll get a lot of experience and education from riding with these older guys.
Yeah, there's Karana on the right of your screen, and he's just, well, all of them really just biding their time before they, as you said, it's a rolling start here.
Yeah, it's going to be a long morning, so they're probably going to warm their legs up for the first few minutes. And I think we'll see the action and the aggression probably start on the second loop from Rose Hall back into Falmouth.
And it's something similar that we saw last year, didn't we? Especially with the Americans on show. Of course, they are very experienced, and they have the advantage. We say that it's not going to be as easy for them as it was last year, but they still have the advantage of knowing the route and where is what, and the hills and the descent. They also have first-hand knowledge of it now.
There's no course advantage on this course because it's largely the same course as last year, and everybody knows it. The difference we'll have this year on the final stage is that we'll have 2 loops of Duncans, which is a pretty hilly parkour, and we'll have 2 loops of that, so that's going to be much more exciting. But they all know the course very well. There's no secret on the course.
And it's pretty flat terrain, and we expect it to be flat terrain for the opening stages of this one. And it's going to be pretty straightforward throughout these first few minutes.
Yeah, they're just going to be rolling here, warming their legs probably for the first 10 miles. You may get a cheeky surge off the front here and there, but I don't see anything going clear probably till the second loop of Rose Hall back to Falmouth. Riders looking around, getting to know each other. A lot of these riders probably haven't raced together before. Some of them from Anguilla, Cayman, Antigua, Barbados. A lot of riders that we're meeting for the first time as well.
Of course, there are 3 stages in total, and different categories as well, because we do have the elite and masters, and we also have the under 18s and the women, and they will come into full focus on the final day on Sunday.
The masters are actually riding in this elite with the elite category. There's no separation between them. The super masters, the ladies, and the juniors will have a separate category on Sunday. Coming up into our screen now, hugging the side of the road. That looks to be Snake Man. His name is Tyrone Edwards. He lives in Atlanta with the members of the 706 team. So a lot of these guys race together week in, week out, and really know each other well.
Edwards, of course, is also from Jamaica, but as you say, he lives in Atlanta with the rest of the crew, and they would have gone many tours together, and they know each other pretty well And again, we just anticipate so much more from the entire gang out of Atlanta.
And we're expecting a whole lot from our local racing this year. I think a lot of teams have come together and tried and realized how embarrassed they were last year, because the 706 team really put a team act on them. And a lot of instances, the other teams just didn't have the answer or the organization for that. And I think we hope to see a lot more organization in the other teams this year, because the Atlanta unit is very structured and very organized.
Yeah, but you did mention Tyrone, and they call him Snake Man. He actually won the 2022 Georgia Masters State Road Race Champion, so he keeps on winning. He's the elder statesman of the group, but yeah, obviously someone who has a huge impact on the total team here.
Very solid rider you want in your team, and with a few youngsters on this team now getting experience, I think he'll be a good shepherd for them.
Yeah, he's gone back a little bit now. Presently in 5th spot, Tyrone Edwards. As see the advantage, most of which taken up by the team which has the defending champion Andy Scarana, who is sitting pretty comfortable down in the pack, just biding his time there.
Yes, he's probably mid-pack about now, almost towards the rear now. I'm looking forward to seeing this race break up a bit so we can get to see who's going well and who else is in it. It's very compact now, and it's hard to figure everybody out yet.
There was a bit of a descent now, and now here's a bit of a climb for the riders, and it's not a huge climb by any stretch of the imagination. We'll see that a little bit later. You'll actually tell based on the perspiration and the bit of struggle that it'll take. But yeah, I think this is the first steady climb of the route here.
It's more of a drag than a climb,
yeah.
They're
going up.
On lap 2, these little drags are where the stronger riders will put the hammer down and see who they can shake off.
And they do have King of the Hill stages as well. They have 6 this year in total, I believe, the Jamaica Cycling Classic. So again, it's another interesting stage, because these are little battles that we look forward to seeing as well.
King of the Mountains prizes are, most riders hate them. They're great for spectators, but most riders hate them because they cause so much damage in the race and hurt so many people, so many riders. I used to hate them when I was a racer, but they're really fun to watch on TV.
Which is where you are now, enjoying it and not being a part of it, right? So enjoy it while you can.
I feel great to not be there, but I also really miss it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I understand.
Another thing to mention, Donald, is that it's pretty warm out there now. It's now 8 o'clock and the sun is up. It's on this route I've seen temperatures reach 42 degrees Celsius. In Fahrenheit money, I think that's about 115 degrees.
Wow.
That's the heat coming off of the road. So it gets real hot out there.
You're going to see breakaways from time to time.
This looks like somebody from the AVG team.
Yes.
AVR team. I'll tell you who that is in a second.
Yeah, AVR Racing.
The way he wears his socks, it looks like Andrew Ramsey. Who, if it is, he's riding very well this year. He won the last race we had in Kingston a week or two ago.
I think Chad Conley is the one who is leading ahead of Tyrone Edwards at the moment. The logistics of putting on a cycling event never lost on me, based on the fact that there so many things could go wrong, and you have to put certain measures in place to make sure that the riders are safe, and of course the traffic as well out of harm's way.
It's It's really a lot of organization,
Yeah.
and I think the organizers do a really phenomenal job at doing that. We don't have the luxury in Jamaica and in the Caribbean of closing roads altogether
Right.
for a race. They have that luxury in the bigger countries, Europe and the US, but we don't have that luxury here to be able to do that, and it gets pretty tricky at times to manage the riders and the traffic, but I think the race organizers and the police do a phenomenal job at that. This looks like Brandon testing his legs, giving a little trouble early on, and he may be out there with Ramsey. That looks like Andrew Ramsey. I don't see this going anywhere yet, though. It's a little too early. I think they're just putting down a tester.
But he's looking behind him just to make sure of the distance there. But yeah, we did see this last year. We see this on so many occasions in the long road races. And as you said, it's a bit of a tester to see who will be drawn out, so to speak.
Yep. A lot of these moves are to really test who has legs and who doesn't. These intervals, we call them, you do them 2-3 dozen times. The people that don't have the sharpest legs, they start to wear off as the hours go by. So this is not a winning move yet, but it's a move to soften people up.
Yep.
And we have 2 or 3 of the 706 team crossing now, so everybody else will want to watch that, because we've seen in the past when they get together, 2 or 3 of them on the front, they can really cause some damage.
Still haven't seen Scarana as yet. As we mentioned before, that he was probably about midway, biding his time.
And we might see a tactic today, Donald, where Scarano is not the main man because he's such a marked man. The field may mark him out of the race, which creates opportunities for his teammates.
But we did see on a couple of occasions last year where he actually was the one leading the quote-unquote breakaways, almost as if he was testing the riders to try and come with him. More often than not, it worked. But I can remember one particular situation, especially on the third stage, when he pulled away and nobody responded.
Yep,
and he had such a large lead for some time.
Yep, there were that race last year. There were 2 riders up the road, Russell Small and Kajor Shu, the youngster, and he single-handedly bridged away to them, and the 3 of them stayed away till the end.
Yeah.
Something that should not have been allowed to happen.
Sometimes it's like a game of poker, right? Where you just have to show your hand at times, but more often than not, the other riders would consider it to be a bluff. They thought it was a bluff last year.
I don't think
but they didn't see him a lot after that.
I don't think they thought he could have ridden away from the whole field single-handedly, but he bridged up to 2 very strong riders, and the 3 of them were able to keep it going till the end. We're seeing some good racing so far. Guys out there test their legs early. We're probably going to see this come back together, and it'll probably go again in another 15 minutes or so.
Yeah. And just to state that the breakaways usually happens on a slight descent. We usually see that where they try to pump their legs and move away from the pack. And that's when the riders usually speed up a lot more.
Yeah.
They come back together when they're going up a hill, or
it happens both ways. It's also very common to put the attacks on going up a hill, because who's not climbing well or who doesn't have the legs has a much harder time responding.
But you do see the difference though in terms of how they're sprinting, per se, whether they're going uphill or downhill. But they're back together again.
We have order in the court once more.
It was good while it lasted. The chaos.
It would be great to see that all day. It would be great to see attacks all day. And we have to remember they're riding into a headwind here. So these 2 legs into the wind are going to take a lot out of the riders. Riding into a breeze is often as hard as riding up a mountain. And this north coast breeze is a good breeze. Probably 15 knots.
Yeah, Irma, Witter Village to Falmouth, and then back to Rose Hall, and then back to Falmouth, and then back to Witter Village where it all begins. So right now they're heading to the furthest point in Falmouth. They will obviously pass Rose Hall, obviously in Montego Bay, but they go all the way to Falmouth in Trelawney, and we have our camera set up at Falmouth at the turning point. Then they go back to Rose Hall, then back to Falmouth, and the long trek from Falmouth, Trelawney, back to Witter Village in Montego Bay. So this is where they will actually turn around. We're 13.5 minutes into the race, and there is some time for them to get here, but this is their first quote-unquote port of call.
Yes. It looks like we're going to be in for a good day of racing, Donald. This is, people want to put down a mark early. This looks like somebody from the AVR team, and that team is a very good team. That team has Jerome Forrest on it, who won a stage last year. It has Kajor Shu on it as well.
Yes.
And these are two very good riders. It also has Cleveland Sharp. He's an elder statesman of Jamaican racing, been racing for 40 years.
Wow.
And winning for 40 years. He's won elite races up as recently as November last year.
It's an interesting thought that I have in terms of how the policemen and security forces navigate the actual route as to what they have to do and when they have to do it. What's an indication that the organizers would have to show them how to not only direct traffic but to keep the riders safe?
I think it's largely impulsive because the police forces do a phenomenal job, because you can see that sometimes the riders across one linear mile scattered across many areas of the road. The race isn't always together, and the police have to manage the race at many points, not just one point in the front. So they do a really phenomenal job, and they stop the traffic where they need to. They close a lane where they need to, and especially at intersections it gets a little hairy where the traffic lights, they'll have police there a few minutes beforehand to make sure they shut down the intersections for the cyclists to come through.
Yeah. I have to mention again that it is a pretty scenic route, so of course the cyclists won't be able to enjoy the views that we are having, obviously, seeing that they have to concentrate on the actual journey and the heat from the asphalt. But it is a pretty scenic route, and one of the best that I would have seen, really. And it is an indication that, yeah, Jamaica is a tourism destination, but it's a sports tourism destination, obviously.
It's largely becoming a sports tourism destination, and there are many bicycle round the island tours that have sprung up over the last few years, and they've become pretty well attended, where 50-60 cyclists come down with their bikes, so they can rent bikes on location here, and they spend a week or 5 days touring the island, staying at different resorts in different parishes and getting an experience of being in the nucleus of Jamaica, not just on the coast. And really fantastic experiences. I've been on a couple of them, and they're really something.
We are going to be seeing a lot of shots of St. Anne and Discovery Bay in particular, but that's for the second stage, where it's obviously a little bit longer. We're talking about 86 miles on the second stage tomorrow, where they'll be going from Witter Village to Discovery Bay and back to Witter Village. And if they think that today is difficult, well, it's going to be an interesting one tomorrow.
It's going to be a fun day tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a long, steady day. And tomorrow we'll probably see the race break up on the way into Discovery Bay. And then we will probably see a breakaway form on the way into Discovery Bay. And if it's well formed by the time we get to Discovery Bay, I think it'll be gone. I don't think, when we turn around from Discovery Bay and heading back to Montego Bay, it's a tailwind, and you get speeds of 30-35 miles an hour average going into Montego Bay. And if you're not with the lead pack at that point, it's going to be very difficult to catch them back. Same applies to today, but today's route is a lot shorter.
The total prize fund here, the Jamaica Cycling Classic, is a little over $11,000 US, and they do have stage winners, they do have overall winners, King of Mountain Stage winners in particular range from $100 US to $600 US. So it depends on the categories. And
do we have any King of the Mountain stages today, or is there no climbs? There are no prize climbs today's stage, are there? I believe they start kicking in tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that they actually start kicking in tomorrow. But you have to give credit to Carlton Simmons as well, who is the chief strategist. This is his brainchild.
Absolutely.
In putting this together.
He's had a phenomenal vision here, and he's really executed it well. And I think this is probably the most prestigious race we have going in the Caribbean now. I think it's the only one that's televised and streamed across the Caribbean.
We'll be taking a short commercial break here from stage 1 of the Jamaica Cycling Classic, and when we return we'll continue the journey from Whitter Village to Falmouth. So welcome back to our coverage of the Jamaica Cycling Classic 2023, and it's the second stage of this prestigious event, and the riders are presently in the Salt Marsh area as they head towards Falmouth. They're in the parish of Trelawney as it is, but they are going closer and closer to Falmouth, where they'll turn around and head back to Rose Hall before going back to Falmouth.
Yeah, the Salt Marsh is on the outskirts of Falmouth, so they'll probably be turning around in another five or so minutes, and then they'll be riding a tailwind back to Montego Bay, back to Rose Hall, and then turning around for the headwind. So I think we'll probably see the race stay together through the turnaround and back to Rose Hall. And then I expect to see the action and the splinters starting to happen on the return leg to Falmouth from Rose Hall. Here we see the whole AVR team on the back there.
Yeah, but just to indicate the route where they are going and where they'll be turning around in a few minutes time. But yeah, this is the live shot of them, still very much together as
Gruppo Compacto, we call this.
Some members of AVR Racing at the back of the field, and we'll think that 706P, yep, indeed, a lot of their riders at the front of the field.
I think these riders at the back expect that nothing dramatic is going to happen until the turnaround, so they're at the back taking some shelter and some rest. It's a mechanical reality of cycle racing that the closer you are to the front is the more energy you're expending because of the aerodynamic factor of the breeze. Whoever's on the front is probably working
the hardest.
A good 20% harder than the rider behind him.
You could learn a lot from the birds.
And we do.
Yeah.
And we do. When you see the birds flying in formation, in that V formation, that's exactly what cyclists try and do.
And they take turns.
And they take turns.
Deliberately take turns, which is why it works out when you have a team as well.
Yes, absolutely. Somebody's job is to always chase things down or to stay on the front and make things difficult for the other teams. But it's definitely, the rider on the front is working harder than most. So that's why when you see 2 or 3 riders ride away from a big group, it's a testament to the effort they're able to put in.
Well, it is the Cornwall team doing the brunt of the work at the moment.
Yeah. There are some good riders on that team too.
Yeah, done in the black, green and gold as well.
We have Russell Small and Kajor Shu on that team, and we saw them do an incredible ride on stage 3, the last stage last year.
We did.
With the 2 of them going away on the climb to Duncan's, and race leader Scorano bridging across, and the 3 of them stayed away till the end.
So yeah, a nice shot. Well, what 36 minutes into this journey, and you expect this first stage to take how long?
I would guess this stage is going to take around 2 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more than 2 hours, 2:05. If it runs particularly fast, it may be a minute under.
So 57 miles or 90 kilometers this stage 1. Stage 2, 86 miles. Stage 3, 50 miles, and we are actually approaching William Knibb. Of course, William Knibb, one of the most famous high schools in Jamaica, and by virtue of one person in particular, the fastest man on the planet, Usain Bolt. Yep.
None other than the great. Incidentally, we have schoolboys and schoolgirl champs happening at the stadium this weekend. And some records have fallen in that already. So really exciting meet this year as well. And I understand from my athletic friends that Champs is the largest high school meet in the world.
It is indeed. It is indeed.
Which is pretty impressive that it happens on our small rock here.
So a lot of sporting events happening this weekend. Of course, the Jamaica Cycling Classic over the next 3 days. There's also football to look forward to, as we see. So we're at William Knibb at the moment, and the turnaround point will be coming up shortly.
And it looks like we have a breakaway formed. It looks like 5 riders away. Our race winner from last year, Scarano, is away. It looks like one of the Bajan riders from AVR, and it looks like it could also be one of the Anguillan riders from AVR as well up there with them. I'll try and get names for you as soon as I can. I believe that might be Edwin Sutherland and or Nathaniel Forbes from Cayman in that group.
But the defending champion is presently in 4th position in that group there. Yeah, that is the breakaway team right now.
And they're approaching the turnaround now to go under the bridge and head back in the tailwind section. It looks like they have a good, I can't see the rest of the field yet, but that looks like a good 20 seconds what we're seeing. So it looks like this group may have up a minute or so lead on the chasing group.
Maybe a bit more.
Maybe a bit more. We're yet to see them.
So they're going to go back to Rose Hall in Montego Bay, and then they're going to make the journey similar as before from Rose Hall back to this point, and then the trek right back to Witter Village in Montego Bay. So there's still some way to go in this one.
I think we've seen the move of the day here, Donald. Here's the main
There's the
pack,
rest of the pack.
The main pack coming now. I'd put this at probably a minute and a half gap, and I don't see them being able to close this in the tailwind. The riders heading back to Montego Bay now are in a tailwind, and that group looks pretty disorganized and disheveled. There's no structure to that, so I don't see them being able to close that gap. I think we're seeing the winner today going to come from the 5 or 6 riders out front.
And you think that momentum will push them all the way?
I sure think so. And you can see the 706 team riding on the front, patrolling the front, keeping the pace down. So it's up to the other riders to come around now and do the work to catch them back. And at the moment, they don't look organized enough to do that.
It could be a really brilliant strategic move by just keeping this second pack almost in check before the turnaround point.
That's what the 706 team is doing. They're riding at the front, and the group allowing them to ride at the front, the 706's job now is to keep the pace slow so that their leaders can increase the gap at the front.
It's more than a minute, you know. They're still yet to go under the bridge. They're going to make that turn now, and I reckon that it's almost 90 seconds, close to 2 minutes.
And then we have to add the distance from here to where the front group is as well. So we could be looking at 2 minutes, 2 minutes plus. With the quality of the riders at the front and the lack of organization I'm seeing here, I don't see that gap closing.
And you see that it's stretching out a little bit. You speak of the tailwind, and with that it may be even more stretched. But yeah, this is the shot of the second pack as they make their way back to Rose Hall. They have a lot of catching up to do. Yep.
See some road debris there, riders hopping it on the shoulder. And because of the aerodynamics, you get riding in that shoulder, you often get a bit better of a draft because the wind is coming slightly cross tail. So you see a lot of riders riding on the shoulder. It seems to be a little faster there.
We're obviously a little bit away from the actual coast, but yeah, the coast is actually on the right of your screen, way out on the right, and that's where you say the breeze will be coming from.
The breeze will be coming from, yes, it'll be a cross tailwind, probably blowing a little inland.
So the leaders are way out in front. What we're seeing now is at the back of the pack, and they have a gap of about, I say 2 minutes, 10 seconds here to catch up.
I think that's probably safe to say. We may see this back group splinter again in with a chasing group trying to get across to that group. I think that we're going to see more damage in this field. I don't think they're going to catch the front group, those 5 riders that are away. I think that the quality in that group is going to stay out there, barring mechanicals or incidents.
Well, yeah. And we hardly saw those last year, and so we don't expect something similar to happen this time around. There were hardly any incidents that we saw.
And I think with 2 minutes lead at the front, I think that they can afford a mechanical and have time to change a tire and still keep going.
Yeah, I reckon that will be the case. That they are so far out in front and pretty comfortable at the moment. But yeah, they're going to be journeying back to Falmouth. This is where they will be coming from, and that's
this is the town of Falmouth here. That's a new cruise shipping pier that was built about well, when I say new, maybe with it about 7 years ago.
It's growing as a tourism destination. With the cruise ships arriving more often than not. The town busy with activity and life.
Falmouth is home to the largest bioluminescent lagoon in the world, glistening waters. You swim in there at night and the whole lagoon around you, everywhere you move, lights up.
Yep.
Lights up like an underwater candle. Is really amazing.
Went there once, and it's really amazing, as you say. It's really somewhere that you'd want to be, and peaceful, calm, eerily quiet.
It's a really special spot, and very worth seeing if you're in Jamaica and on the north coast. They have nighttime boat cruises that go in there, and they're really something to see. This leg should take them probably about 20 minutes. It'll be about 20%, 30% faster than the headwind leg.
Yeah. Yeah. So they went to Rose Hall and then back, and they'll be going back to Falmouth, and then the final trek from Falmouth to Whitter Village. So we're hearing that they've made that loop at Rose Hall. They are making it in quick time, it seems.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah. Actually, just confirm that they actually haven't reached Rose Hall, but when they do reach Rose Hall, they'll make that turn back to Falmouth. So we've lost our feed for just a little while, but we anticipate it going back up very soon. But we're just giving you an indication of the actual route of this stage. We're on 57 miles or 90 kilometers, and it's mostly a flat terrain here. I think the total ascent is actually just 750 feet, so it's a pretty steady
pancake flat route. Breeze is our obstacle today, and we've seen the breeze cause havoc already by putting a group of 6 riders away, 2 of them from the defending champions team.
Tomorrow is going to be more difficult. They'd have to navigate a total ascent of 3,020 feet.
Tomorrow they're going to face two main climbs. They're going to face a climb on Breakaway, and they're going to face a climb on Spring Hill. There are a couple other climbs in there that will hurt the legs, but they're not as defining as those 2. Trying to get our feedback here. That looks like an interesting new development going on there.
Yeah, it is. This is the breakaway team at the very top, and all of these actually elite athletes.
We have Hassani, Ennis from Anguilla there.
Brighton John from Guyana as well is also there.
So we have this is a very international crew we have. I'm not sure we have any local Jamaican riders in there. Wait till we see again and we can ID them.
But yeah, mostly the Americans, including the defending champion Andy Scarano, in the breakaway pack.
And they look real comfortable and real organized. I think they know they have this.
Yeah, almost 49 minutes in, and they're clear out front. And he did say that more than likely this would have the winner in it for this stage one.
We did miss how this move happened, Donald, unfortunately. And we're not on the road and we're not feeling the pressure and the breeze that these riders are facing. But it seems like this move has gotten away pretty cheaply and pretty quickly. We went for commercial break and came back, and a group of 6 had gone 2 minutes ahead. It seemed like it happened pretty cheaply and pretty cheekily. That looks like
Chad Conley in third position at the moment.
He's a big rider.
And Scarano is at the back at the moment, the number 41, and he's just, as usual, just taking his time, not taking the full brunt of
this is going to
breeze.
This is going to be a very interesting finale because we have 2 teams in this with 2 riders. So the number 71 rider is going to have a hard time here, and the winner of this stage has been chosen by each team. Each of the 2 AVR teams have decided among themselves who's going to be working to let the other one win, and same with the 706 team.
So Akil Campbell is in third position. He's from Trinidad and Tobago. Yep, representing AVR Racing, and he's right up there, as you said. It's just a real international flavor with the top 5 at the moment, and they have decided that they are taking turns. We saw that again in the third stage last time out when Andy Scarano was the one that was leading the pack and was actually pushing the 2 young riders with him, 2 young Jamaican riders with him. But it's something that we see in cycling all the time.
Yeah, these guys are going to work together. They have a long ways to go yet. They still have the return leg from Rose Hall to Falmouth,
right,
and then the leg back. I think on the final leg back into Montego Bay, you're going to see them jockeying for position, playing cat and mouse, trying to prepare themselves for the victory, trying to see who can surprise who, or getting ready for a sprint, because I think there's going to be no chance and no threat from the field behind. So you'll probably see the running leg, the last 10-20k of this race, at a quite slow pace as they try to preserve their legs and find a way to outsmart the others.
They're passing Greenwood, actually, and they are approaching Long Bay, so they'll soon be back at the Rose Hall point before they make the turnaround back to Falmouth. But you're looking at the top 5 pretty comfortable, pretty much in a straight line.
They know they have this, and the group behind is too far behind to even see them, and out of sight, out of mind. I think that this move is by all definitions gone for the day.
We're just passing Long Bay, the defending champion, at the back, Scarano, and in front of him, Akil Campbell of Trinidad and Tobago.
I think Long Bay is where we have the alligator safari, where you can go and interact with the crocodiles.
Well,
the crocodile
right.
safaris. It looks like they're coming up to the Ibero Star Hill. Now this is a small little grade. If these guys were to attack each other, one of them would do it here. We may well see this stretch here being the decision-making stretch, or where the attacks come from on the final run-in towards the finish. We may see a move happen on this stretch.
But you don't expect a move to be made here?
No, I don't think they're...
Too early?
This too early, and these guys... I don't think any one of these riders can ride away from the other four combined, and I don't think they're ready to waste their matches yet. So they'll probably do it on this roundabout here on the way back in.
You have to be careful when you talk about matches in this day and age for Jamaica. In the middle of a drought at the moment, and we have seen several fires across the country. But yeah, really warm conditions, dry conditions, harsh conditions for the cyclists.
Yes, it's driving across the island looked like the whole country was on fire. There were so many bushfires.
Yep.
We've had a little rain in the last week, and it's kind of calmed things down a bit, but we're as dry as we've been in a long time. Here's that little drag up to the Ibero Star now. So they're just going to work this over together. I believe we'll see something happen the final time we face this drag. It's not very steep, it's not very long, but when you're racing for 75, 80 kilometers, you'll feel it in the legs.
Scarano back at the front of the pack. Behind him, Asani Hennis out of Anguilla. Hennis in second position, Scarano leading. At this time last year, his wife would have been looking on Isabel, and she was with child, but since then they've added to their wonderful family, and I'm sure she's proud of all his achievements. And it's always interesting to know the life of the cyclists and what they have to go through on a weekly, monthly basis. And he fell in love with Jamaica the last time he was out here. He's been around the Caribbean, in fact. He's ridden in Trinidad and Tobago as well, and Scarano.
I think he's ridden in Barbados.
And Barbados. Mm-hmm.
Cuba. He has ridden a lot of... He's extensively traveled in the Caribbean.
So they are in the Lilliput area, approaching Rose Hall, the leading pack.
There's some strategizing going on here now, discussing how they share the workload. This is very interesting. Both two teams have two riders in this, so it's going to be very interesting in how they square off. And it might be a slight advantage. The number 71 rider is going to have some challenge facing two teams, so we might see him having to do something creative if he wants to think about winning today.
Yeah, the Guyanese rider, Brighton John, is wearing the number 71 jersey, and he's going back into the penultimate position now. Akil Campbell at the back, just speeding up, trying to catch the top four, the Trinidadian. Yeah, so they are approaching the Rose Hall leg to make that turnaround once more.
And after that turnaround, that third leg is going to be the most painful leg, because the second time facing the headwind after having such a nice ride in a tailwind for about 30k, the headwinds always hurt.
There is pain to varying degrees, I suppose, because this is going to feel much better now as opposed to, say, tomorrow, where they have to go all the way to Discovery Bay.
Yeah, and the pain they're feeling today, so it's so much easier to feel pain when you're on the front and you know the winner is going to come from one of these 5 riders. It's so much easier to bear that pain.
As I said, varying degrees, pain is relative.
Cycling is an interesting sport when it comes to pain, because you don't choose when it happens. It's a sport where you have to conserve your energy as best as possible to be able to win, and it's also a sport where you have to respond to everything that can hurt you whether you want to or not. When a rider decides to go and he's a threat to you, whether you're tired or you're just recovering from a move, you have to go again. So you're often at your red line for long periods, and you don't choose these moments. You respond to them a lot of the time.
And hydration, of course, is really key in all of this.
Hydration is really key. And a lot of these riders will be taking more than just water and energy drinks like Gatorade. They'll be actually eating salt tablets on the road.
Okay.
The electrolyte tablets.
The thing is, though, that the preparation wouldn't, well, it would have started a long time ago in terms of hydration. Obviously, it's not just about drinking water on the day.
Probably a few days beforehand. Some riders increase their salt intake. I used to increase my salt intake a few days before a race, because your body can lose up to a gallon of water an hour.
An hour?
An hour. And your body will only absorb about 16 ounces of water an hour. So you lose water far more quickly than you can put it back. So you have to start loading and hydrating before the race.
And it's worse when it's in the heat.
It's worse when it's in the heat. So it'll be key for when these riders get off the bike today to keep putting water back, because you absorb water into your system far more slowly than you lose it. So over a 3-day race, hydration becomes key.
I think there was a bit of a confusion in terms of where the turnaround point was. There was a discussion as to whether it was where they just passed, as they had slipped into the right lane, but I think they just got the instruction as to where the turnaround point is, and they are making their way to that turnaround point. I suspect that they'll reach that point at the top of this stretch.
They're on the Rose Hall Road here. I don't know exactly where the turnaround is, but I imagine they'll probably turn at the next intersection.
Yep, they were querying it.
And the finish line would be probably another 5 or 10k beyond the turnaround point here.
Right. So they have passed the halfway stage by our calculation. They would have just passed the halfway stage, which means that they're going at a fair clip.
Yes, they're going at a fair clip. So I think they probably have about 50k left. Probably have about 45k left.
Yeah. The full course, of course, 90 kilometers. So they're in the Rose Hall area now, and we anticipate them making the turn in short order. Chad Conley at the back of the pack from Team 706P, and his teammate, the defending champion Andy Scarano, leading the pack at the moment. It's a pack of 5, and they broke away slightly before they got onto the bridge at Falmouth, and since then they've been holding that lead.
It looks like we've had, looking at the overhead shot of the remnants of the field, it looks like we've lost quite a few more riders out the back as well. I think they're somewhere mixed up in that convoy. The group looks to be a lot smaller than it was when it started.
And this is the smallest of them all at the top.
Yes, it would be nice to spend some time further back in the group to see what's happening and who's still left there, and how organized they are and how close they may be coming to closing this gap, which I think is highly unlikely. But we'd love to get some more images of what's happening further back. Well, there we go.
That's a turnaround point. at Rose Hall. That's a shot of those further back, and they would have passed this. We would have passed this stretch quite a few minutes ago. So maybe 2.5 minutes further back. The rest of
if we get to see the turnaround of the big group, we can calculate the time gaps.
So this is the stretch as they are heading back to Falmouth. And we're going to see a shot of the remaining riders, an aerial shot of the remaining riders coming up. There we go. So that's the Rose Hall stretch. So yeah, I reckon that they're probably about 2.5 minutes behind.
Let's see where they turn. We're tracking I'll give you a gap if we can see where they turn. Well, that group doesn't look very organized. It looks like they get moments of organization, and the group will stretch out and look like they're pulling and rotating. But now, when you see a group in one big blob like that across the road, it means that the pace has gone from that group.
Yeah.
When they're riding at pace, you see the group strung out and stretched like an elastic band. This looks like they've resigned for the day here.
And to imagine that they had a tailwind behind them, so when they make the turnaround, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them. It's going to be stretched out some more.
Yeah, it'll be difficult. I think there's no prizes to be ridden for in this group now. Well, the Masters, there's still the Masters race. The first place Masters will come from that second group, so that will be an exciting race within that group to watch.
Okay, so we're hearing that the gap is actually 1 minute and 40 seconds, which means that they would have closed it just a bit. 1 minute and 40 seconds between the leading pack and the second group of riders.
I am counting more than that, Donald. It was 102 and 1 hour and 2 minutes and 10 seconds when the 5 leaders turned around, and we're at 104 now. So I'm getting 2 minutes and 15 seconds by my crude calculations.
Well, the backpack isn't just now turning around. You see the shot there, the bottom right-hand corner.
So
yeah, you're right. It is actually more than 2 minutes.
Seconds. So the gap is may not have changed much since the turnaround, but it hasn't gone down either. And the big group would want to see this gap coming down. It's not. So I don't see them closing. They haven't closed a few seconds in the tailwind. I don't know how they're going to close.
I'm actually a bit surprised that there are just 2 groups at the moment. I expected almost like a second breakaway group and then possibly a third. We may see it here now, actually, with this leg. May see it.
I don't know. I don't know if any riders in here believe that they have it in them to close 2 minutes of gap. We might get this group saving their energies for tomorrow to say today's. We might not have anything left for today. Maybe we'll save our energies for tomorrow and do something good tomorrow.
Would they have any indication as to how far behind they are, though? Of course, radios aren't allowed to be taken with them. That was an issue last year where a cyclist was disqualified.
Yes, we had an unfortunate instance last year with Jerome Forrest, who was probably the biggest challenger to Scarano last year.
Yeah, for the second stage especially.
He was wearing a radio and wasn't aware that radios are not allowed, and he had to face the consequences as a result.
But consequences was disqualification, obviously.
They disqualified his. I think he won a stage of the race.
He won the second stage, right?
And then he came second in the stage that he got disqualified from, so his results didn't count for that. And
yes.
The points he got, he was able to accumulate after that. We're never going to rival Scarano. So it was unfortunate because there was a rivalry there that he could have won the race overall without winning all the stages because of accumulated points. But with those points docked for wearing the radio, he had no chance after that.
Yeah, just got a shot of Andy Scarano with the lead, still leading the pack of 5. But yeah, just a look at the route this stage 1 of the Jamaica Cycling Classic. We are set to take a quick commercial break in short order, but yeah, so we're on the way back to Falmouth, and again from Falmouth back to Whitter Village. But as we take a look at the leading pack right now, we see that the defending champion is in second spot, but I think
taking on a wet cloth there to cool himself down. You see bidons, water bottles in their jersey. They're trying to pack on as much fluid as they can.
Yep, Akil Campbell right ahead of Brighton John, who's at the back of the pack at the moment. But yeah, it's pretty steady out front with a leading pack of 5 as they head back to Falmouth before they make the turnaround, and they're just going to be rotating like that for a bit. You did say that this is probably going to be the most difficult leg, and we see Hassani Hennis at the back of the pack. We'll take a quick break here from the Jamaica Cycling Classic. When we return, we'll have much more action. Stay with us. Welcome back to our coverage of the Jamaica Cycling Classic here at, they're on their way back to Falmouth. We should say that it's the Montego Bay Cycling Classic, but you see that it is an actually steady climb up the hill here, with the top 5 still making their way up. They are about close to 2.5 minutes ahead of the second pack. That's obviously doing a similar route up the hill, but yeah, we see the leaders interchanging, and this is the leading pack. Andy Scarano, Chad Conley out of 7:06p. Then you have the Brighton John out of Guyana, Asani Hennis out of Anguilla, Akil Campbell out of Trinidad and Tobago also there as well.
Yeah, these guys have put in the move of the day and they're working well together. There we see that the main group, the overhead shot there, they've basically resigned this and they're racing for 6th place.
Yeah, it seems that way.
They're racing for 6th place and to save their legs to see who can make a move tomorrow.
Yeah, you're right. I think the winner is going to be coming out of the leading pack here as they go further and further up the hill. And as I said, we did miss the move at the first time of asking where they were in this area, this rough area, roughly this area where they moved away from the rest of the pack. And I'm not sure if a similar move is going to be made to separate here, or maybe this pack would go through right until the very end, this leading pack.
I do believe that the pack will stay together. I don't see any, there's no major prizes for 6th place, so I think they'll stay together and save their arrows for tomorrow, see if they can come with fresher legs tomorrow and do a better ride. We missed the move going away because of terrain difficulties with our feed, but I think you're right that the initial move of these 5 riders going away from the field probably happened on this leg, somewhere in this area going into Falmouth on the first leg.
It's good to see the mix though, because we didn't really have that mix as far as the leading pack was concerned. Haven't seen any Jamaicans obviously in this breakaway pack.
No, they got
caught up.
They got hoodwinked on this move, and I think they.
Can you imagine getting hoodwinked on your own course?
It happens. It happens. It's rough getting hoodwinked anywhere, but it happens, and we have to live with it. And they'll be back tomorrow. There are a good bunch of riders going well in Jamaica at the moment, and I think we'll see a couple of them make themselves known tomorrow. It's really refreshing, Donald, to see the growth of cycling in Jamaica and in the Caribbean recently. We have quite a talented population of people but cycling just hasn't been as popular as it should be, largely because of funding and exposure like we're getting here with this race. I think the television exposure that we're seeing cycling get now is really putting a lot of growth into the sport and a lot of energy into the sport. Mothers are they're much more inclined to encourage their kids to ride if there's recognition for it and support of it, and clubs growing. What we really need in the Caribbean now is to get bicycles into the hands of youngsters.
Yeah.
Bicycles change lives, gives you discipline, builds character, teaches you how to deal with good moments, bad moments, and wake up tomorrow and do it again. And it's good lessons for life. And I'd love to see bicycles get into the hands of every kid in Jamaica and the Caribbean, because we have some really talented riders. And all it takes is giving a kid a bike.
And it's not too expensive, is it? I mean, obviously there's a lot of maintenance going on, but it's not too expensive.
Unfortunately, it is. These bicycles here are all coming in.
Well, in terms of starting out, in terms of children. Yeah.
Well, when you're starting a kid out, if he has any potential, you want to get him on a good bike early.
And initially, no training wheels.
You want to once they prove quite early on that they have good legs on the rusty old bicycles they have, but you want to get them on a good bicycle very quickly, because if they go to race against anybody in the people they're racing against are racing on top quality bicycles, so it's just discouraging if you're a kid with talent, you want to get him on a good bicycle as soon as you can, because the equipment is a serious advantage or disadvantage, and these bicycles are pretty expensive, so we'd love to be able to develop a program where we can better fund junior cyclists throughout the Caribbean.
The investment starts early.
It does.
It does. That's the supporting pack, so to speak. They're in Greenwood at the moment, so still very much together, still very much cruising, so to speak.
Yeah, they look like they're having a nice ride, and I think they know that they're not going to contest this. we'll have a field sprint from this, and we definitely have a race for the Masters prize coming from this, with the riders between 35 and 50, 35 and 55 coming from this group. So there's still a race to be had inside of this group.
Yeah, I think so too. And a couple of moves have just been made. Let's see how far this will go. But I really did expect for this pack to have been broken up. And maybe we're seeing the indications of that happening now.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a little action happening here, but I don't know that it's going to stick.
Well, it happened once.
It happened once, and it's really unfortunate we didn't get to see that happening and how it happened, to see what caused it. It could have been, to see how it happened, it would have given us a good indication into who has the strong legs and who is suffering in this group. Because sometimes a group of 5 gets away, and they get away quite opportunistically, not necessarily right away from the field. Could have been somebody falling asleep on the front and letting a gap open, and then a group goes away, or did they just ride and destroy the field? So we didn't get to see that, so we're a little unwise, a little less wise for that.
But based on what we think the course is, I think they actually sped away on the final ascent, and then they just had that momentum going into the descent, going into Falmouth.
Hard to tell. Once we saw them coming into Falmouth with a big gap, so they did some damage somewhere a little further down the road.
Yeah.
Significant damage as well.
Game-changing damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The race was over by the first turnaround.
So yeah, the top 5 still very much together, and they are approaching Falmouth once more. Yeah.
Brighton John here taking his turn on the front.
Yep.
And they're sharing the workload here, everybody taking 10-15 second pulls and giving and rotating off the front.
And that has been going on for a while, by the way. Working together, but I suspect that once that turnaround is made, especially with the tailwind, it's going to be every man for themselves.
Yep, and I believe in the last 10 kilometers we'll see the decisive move happening. That's my guess. And cycling, you're often wrong with cycling predictions, because
it's usually what happens on the day, right?
It usually happens. You see an opportunity, you take it. So our predictions are at best what we see happening if we were in the race, but we are not.
So is it more like a gut feeling, especially when you were riding? Was it a gut feeling to make a move here? Did you feel like a change in wind direction? What were the notable changes that you'd have felt on the course that indicated to you that, you know what, I need to make a move right now?
A combination of factors, Donald. These 5 riders will be watching each other every pedal stroke, and you'll be seeing who's pulling a shorter pull at the front. That may mean he doesn't have the legs, he's coming off a little too early. You see who's pulling for his water bottle every 2 minutes. You see some he may be working.
And you take note of all of that.
You note everything. You see, you look at rider's eyes. He's looking around. His eyes are wandering all over the place. He doesn't want to make eye contact. That's often a sign that you can interpret that as a sign of weakness. A rider.
So it's psychological as well.
You're taking note of who's. Some riders go to the front and the pace may drop half a mile an hour. You know that he's doing his turn at the front, but he's not in full shape, and you may just get a little opportunity, like a crosswind, or somebody takes their bottle out of their cage and puts their hands on the tops of their bars and loses focus for a second, and you can decide to go because you think you're stronger than them at that moment, and you've seen them struggling, or you've seen their facial expression just look like they're having a hard time. So they're paying attention to each other every pedal stroke, and if they see an opportunity, or if they see somebody gazing or relaxing, you can make a move.
Or
so
probably someone thinking about a cruise or taking one, which is the shot that we see here at Falmouth. They won't be going through that area, but they are going to be relatively close to that area, about, let's say, a 3-minute drive from where they go under the bridge that you saw initially. This is where the bay is. This is where the cruise ship is. This is where the town is. And just a couple of minutes away from under the bridge where you saw them making the U-turn. But yeah, just wonderful scenes here, and it's interesting to speak about the psychology of the race, because I'd never even thought about it, and I'm wondering how many of the youngsters that you'd have noticed, and probably it would be a prodigy, right, that would pick up those things, and you realize then and there that, oh, this guy is special.
Yep, and the older riders riding with the younger riders, like what we're seeing on the 7.0 team and the AVR team. The young riders listen to everything, and the older riders tell them how the stage went down and why they did what they did, and the youngsters learn. And we'll be seeing with these, we have 2 riders from 2 teams in this group of 5 and 1 lone rider. We'll could well see on the way back 1 rider from 1 team making an attack, and the other 3, because his teammate won't chase him, having to close that gap and putting in all the work to bring that escapee back, then allows the resting teammate to then hit and double attack, and the winner may come from that. So the advantage of having two riders in this break for 2 teams is a very significant advantage, that they can strike 2 matches. They have 2 matches to strike. So the rider here, Brighton John from Guyana, he'll have to be quite crafty to win from this group.
Yeah, because he has no friends in this lot.
He has no friends in this lot.
But yeah, what an interesting decision he'll have to make once they...
We don't know very much about him as well. He may be a sprinter. If he has a good sprint, he may be the strongest of the 5 and fancy his chances if it comes down to a 5-man sprint. But I don't know very much about the other 4 riders in this leading group. I do know Scarano. He has a decent sprint. I wouldn't back him in a bunch sprint. So I don't. So if these 5 riders come to the line, it's very interesting as to, I don't know who the favorite would be. But I know that number 71, if he can, is going to want to see if he can escape this group.
Well, just recently, Brighton John would have won the Chennai Jagan Memorial Cycle Road Race, the 23rd stage in March 26, in fact, so just about 5 days ago, representing We Stand United, and he actually had to come from behind to actually win that one. He was 4 minutes behind, which probably would indicate that he's a bit of a sprinter here. But him being a part of the leading pack is really dangerous, and as you said, that we don't know a lot about him, so he could possibly be the X factor here.
I think if you're in this group, I think all of these riders are very strong riders. I was told that the rider from Trinidad, Akil Campbell, is a very strong rider, and he's been doing really well. Yeah, but I've never seen these riders race, and I don't know what their particular strengths, whether it's climbing, sprinting, or time trialing to know how they're going to finish the race here today. So we'll just have to watch and see and learn just as you will at home.
He's won a couple of national championships, Akil Campbell, and he's also copped a couple of road races as well. We're talking from 2019, and he's won the scratch as well as the individual pursuit.
These are track races, very hard races, so he seems like he's a very accomplished track rider.
Yeah, just 27 years old, born February 1st 1996, Akil Campbell. So yeah, we're learning a little about them, but in terms of how they aim to execute a race, we're going to be picking it up in short order.
I think they should be approaching the turnaround.
Yeah, they're approaching William Knibb actually. That's what they're actually approaching, William Knibb, as we take a look back at the live shot. So they're pretty close to the turnaround point. Well, relatively close to the turnaround point.
Now they may finish this race in slightly under 2 hours, looking at the clock here.
Yeah, presently approaching the 90-minute mark. And as you mentioned before, that this is possibly the hardest leg, but when they do turn around, the wind in their backs, and relatively easy trek going back home to Witter Village.
Yep, all they have to do is beat each other on the way home. They have the advantage of not having to worry about the other 40 riders behind them. And they do have the luxury of thinking about how they can strategize to outfox the others, because the main group is so far behind that you don't have to think about them riding back onto you.
Yeah, that's Chad Conley at the back out of team 706P out of Atlanta. And we spoke about Brighton John right before him, the number 71 out of Guyana, an experienced rider. And we're in all sorts of positions to get the best shots to you, I can tell you that.
A lot of times we focus on the riders all the time and they get all the glory, but the team management behind the scenes making this happen is a lot of organization, the team vehicles, and these are made up of usually made up of ex-riders too, but the organization and the keeping the riders hydrated, giving them updates on the time gaps and conditions on the road. It's really a big job and a thankless job of being a team manager. It looks like the flagman getting in place, so they should be approaching any moment now to make the turnaround.
Yep. And here they come. There are the riders about to make the turnaround, and it's still the top 5, still the leading pack. They have been together for the past 45 minutes or so.
Looks like they've made the turnaround. They've just come back on to their home leg now.
So what we're going to do, we're going to take another break here, and when we return we'll have more action from the Jamaica Cycling Classic. to the Jamaica Cycling Classic. As we take a look at, this is a second breakaway group. So, welcome back to the Jamaica Cycling Classic, and yeah, this is the second breakaway group, actually, and we did reckon that there would have been more splinters as they head back into Falmouth. But
this looks like two members of the AVR squad here. We may have, this is Andrew Ramsey in the third wheel here. I'm trying to identify the lead rider. This might be too little too late, but Andrew Ramsey is somebody to watch for tomorrow. He's a very powerful rider. He won the Palisados road race. We've had a crash there. About 4 or 5 riders somebody rubbed wheels, and about 4 or 5 riders gone down there.
So the first incident that we have noted here at the Jamaica Cycling Classic.
We were very fortunate last year. We didn't have any.
No, we didn't.
Any incidents. Everybody, it looks like a fairly routine. Hopefully, we didn't have anybody hurt on that. I think they'll all be up. And there we have one of them catching back on. And this looks like the back group just getting back, making the turnaround and getting back on the road now.
Yeah.
So that gap is probably, in my estimation, about 4 minutes.
Yeah, but of course, this is the third group, the third main group, and a number of riders from the Cornwall Cycling.
Some of the damaged ones that went down in the crash getting back on.
Yep. Yeah, so these are the guys at the back, which means that the ones out front, way out in front, about 4 minutes.
These are probably two of the crash riders trying to assess their injuries and get back onto the field. It looks like they're struggling a little bit, not looking that smooth, but they should be able to get back on.
As we take a look at what happened here in terms of the crash just a few minutes before.
There we can see.
Oh, it's actually one of the riders from
one of the
706P.
riders. Looks like he touched wheels with a rider in front of him, probably reaching for his bottle or just a little too relaxed, and brought down a couple of riders. This looks like Snake Man. That's Tyrone Edwards on the floor there, but it looked like a fairly slow speed incident, so hopefully nobody is too
I'm
badly
actually
hurt.
not sure it was Snake Man. I think it was.
That looks like Brandon. And there you can see on the other side of the road another rider still down. He looked like he might have needed. It indeed looked like Snake Man. He was on there. There he is on the other side of the road.
Yes.
Looked like it took a bit while longer to get back. Maybe he needed a wheel change or something. But it looks like everybody is for the most part okay. That my guess would be that's Maduri, otherwise known as sliced bread. Not getting a very good visual of him.
Well, yeah, this is the third pack that we're looking at. The leaders are way out in front, and maybe we'll have some indication as to how far in front they are.
I think by our crude math, I think we were looking at close to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
By the time this group made the turn.
They are way out in front, and this is the final leg, so to speak, from Falmouth back to Witter Village, and as they come out of one parish into another, from Trelawney to St. James, and we have still over 20 kilometers to go here.
I think we probably have about 20 minutes, 20 kilometers left. And then these riders who want to get off the bike, start rehydrating, take a massage if they can, go get some food and go get some sleep, have a team meeting, and then start doing it, get ready for tomorrow.
What would the recovery be like, though, in terms of what they specifically have to do?
Get off the bike if you can, get a massage.
Ice bath?
If you have an ice bath, yeah, that helps muscle recovery. Largely eating and hydrating and being off your feet, sleeping as much as you can if you can. Some riders will actually go for a small ride this afternoon just to keep the muscles slightly engaged. Nothing strenuous, but just to ride out some of the lactic acid that's built up in today's race.
So this is a chasing pack, and I suggest that you'll be seeing them for the final time here, as there are quite a few, just a couple miles down the road, as we take a look at the finish line at Witter Village in Montego Bay, and they are about, I don't know, maybe another 20 minutes away or so from the finishing line here.
And you can see the breeze on those palm trees, Donald. You can see how violently those palm trees are rocking. So you can see what those riders are dealing with. This breeze will be carrying them to the finish line. So this is good. This is a good breeze.
They like being dealt this hand.
This is a good breeze.
Yeah, that will no doubt power their way through.
They'll be catching speeds of up to 38, 40 miles an hour on parts of this run into the finish with the tailwind.
Yeah. So we saw the chasing pack, or we should say the third chasing pack. We're going to take a look at the second chasing pack, so to speak.
Looks like 3 riders have gotten away.
Yep.
One of them from Team 8 and 2 of them from AVR. We have Andrew Ramsey there in second wheel.
About to go into first.
That looks like, I'm guessing, Domain, one of the juniors from Kingston.
Edwin Sutherland, actually, from Barbados, is now in third, and we're trying to understand. Okay, so this is one of the guys.
That's Bradley McFarlane. He's
crashed,
one of the juniors from the 706 squad. I ride with this kid a lot. And it's unfortunate to see him go down like that. He's probably waiting for, probably damaged a wheel or a part that.
Yeah, he won't be riding for the rest of this stage.
It looks like he's tapping his shoulder there. Let's hope that collarbone is okay. It's a common bone to break as a cyclist. You put your arms out in front when you go down and you break that collarbone. I hope we'll see him back tomorrow. A really talented young rider. His father, Horace McFarlane, he also has a cousin in the race, and their uncle and father respectively is a 2-time Caribbean champion and very established racer in Jamaica, and he is or was the coach of the junior cycling program in Jamaica.
Seems as if Ramsey has had enough of this, as he tries to go for the chasing pack, but he's some way behind.
He's definitely got the legs to ride away from these two, I think. He's definitely not catching those ahead of him, but he has the legs to ride. I think he has the legs to ride away from those other 2 riders.
Yep, that's Andrew Ramsey, but yeah, part of the chasing pack, and some way to go before catching up with the leading pack. The leading pack we're hearing, or the chasing pack we're hearing, is in Greenwood, or passing Greenwood. And I'm going to try and get an establishing shot of the leading pack at the moment. So there's the leading pack. By our count, we still have 5 up top.
And but that's the Ibero Star Hotel we're seeing off there in the distance. I think they're about probably 2K from that, and possibly another 5K to the finish. So we're under 10Ks from the finish here.
They are really pedaling past Long Bay now, and they are approaching Ibero Star, this leading pack.
There's a little drag heading right by the entrance of Ibero Star, and maybe a spot where one of these riders can think he's gonna inflict some pain on the others and see if he can make a move. That's one of the guys that went down in that touch of wheels. He looks okay, and he's just going to ride he's just going to roll this on home, yeah.
But yeah, that's the leading pack. Still the leading pack of 5. The defending champion Andy Scarano is in that pack, and they're almost at the Iberia Star, and maybe another 10 minutes away after that from the finishing line.
And there we can see that drag, that uphill drag they're facing now. If one of these riders feels he's much stronger than, there we can see Tyrone Edwards with a crab walking handlebar. That's Bradley McFarlane. He looks to be okay though. He looks to be okay. He'll just ride that home.
So this is a leading pack of 5.
We saw there Bradley McFarlane riding his twisted bike to the finish line. I think he's going to have to ride that all the way home, because his team car has 2 riders at the very front. So I don't think he's going to be getting support or picked up from the team car, because they're looking after their leaders. So
which they'd have to, of course.
So he's gonna be riding home with a twisted bike. We do that from time to time, so he'll be okay.
And of course, they're allowed to repair their bikes ahead of the second stage as well.
Yeah, they're allowed to repair their bikes on the road if they have a support vehicle, or they have the availability of the parts. But he'll be back tomorrow. I saw him clutching his collarbone, like I was worried about that being damaged, but he looks like he's okay.
Yeah, it seems as if he's fine now.
And this is that drag up to the Iberia Star. So you can see one rider getting tailed off there a little bit. He may be putting himself in a position to make a move, or he may be having a hard time. But this could be an attacking opportunity. This little drag here could be an opportunity for a rider to go clear, and if he's feeling stronger than the rest. Okay, and we're back.
Yep. Still the pack of 5. We don't see any discernible difference from the last time we did see them.
And they're over that little drag, and there's been no attack there. So I think we're looking like we're going to see a bunch sprint or a very late, close to the finish line attack by one of these riders.
Well, they are Lilliput now, and they are going to be approaching Rose Hall in short order.
And then from Rose Hall, we probably have another 5K, 2 to 5K to the line. I wonder what we're going to see built here. This looks like a pretty significant. I was in Montego Bay this week, and I drove right by this and didn't see it.
Well, probably if you flew by it, you'd have seen it.
Yeah, let's ask some questions, and maybe we can tell you what's going on here tomorrow.
But obviously a massive development on the way. I put my money on another hotel being established.
It's looking like that.
So this is the leg from Iberia Star into Witter Village, and that's how far of a gap the leading pack is. We're trying to catch up with the leading pack, I can imagine what the cyclists are going through to try and bridge that gap, but it's a bit of a gap.
Some creative convoy driving here.
Yes.
The support vehicle is passing Iberostar now.
Yeah, so we're pretty close to the leading pack. The leading pack of 5, and when we get the closer shot, you'll see who are at the very top. But it's still the 5 that we mentioned, the likes of Akil Campbell, Brighton John,
Andy
Scarano, the defending champion, and Chad Conley also up there as well. So
and Hassim Ennis of Anguilla.
Right, of Anguilla, can't leave him out. So that's the leading pack still, and it hasn't changed for the last hour or so. You did call it earlier that more than likely the winner will come from this pack, and it seems as if that will be the case. Still very much bunched up together. I think they have passed Rose Hall.
Yep, they're passing Rose Hall now.
Yep.
And this is actually Sea Castles. So they're not very far from the finish now. I'm putting this at about 5k from the finish. And it looks like couple questions being asked by some of the riders here.
They are still rotating, which I'm wondering how long will that continue. You see them just exchanging who leads the pack.
You can see them all bunched up now. They're no longer working together. They're trying to figure out how they're going to win this race, and the pace has come right out of this group now. They're probably crawling to the line now, strategizing, looking for the element of surprise, talking to each other, making deals. Making deals which probably won't be made. Teammates talking to each other, seeing who's going to work for whom, where they're going to make a move.
Is there a bit of trash talking that may be taking place as well?
Sometimes in fun, yes.
Because you did say that this is also psychological, right?
Cycling is part physical and mostly mental.
Which part did you have the most fun with?
I had the ability, I think, to endure pain more than most people. There were more talented riders out there, but definitely. But when it came to suffering, I had the ability to suffer a bit more than most.
So if you're a boxer, you'll be a rope-a-dope. That's what you're essentially saying. All right.
I was better in long distance races, and for me to win a race, I needed to get away from the group. I didn't have a punch. I didn't have a big sprint. So I needed to wear riders down and put them through a lot of pain and then get away from the group. If I came to the line with these 5 guys, I'd probably come fifth.
Okay.
I didn't have the best of sprints.
This is the finishing line, by the way. They are a few minutes out from here at Witter Village, but they are prepping for them to cross the line in short order.
And the finish line is coming up very quickly now. We're at Hospitan, and I think we have another cave or 2 caves. I'm not sure exactly, but we're at the finish imminently now.
They're just passing the Rose Hall Great House now. And the Jamaica Conference Center as well, over on the left-hand side, where a lot of events take place in Montego Bay.
It's a beautiful
lot of retreats. Center. It is. So they are close to Witter Village. They will get under the 2-hour mark, the leading pack here.
It'll be close. Probably be under the 2-hour mark for sure. It's hard to tell where the finish line is. This stretch, unless you live in Montego Bay, it looks very similar, and you often misread the finish line by a kilometer or 2. And I often think I'm much closer to the finish line when I used to do this race than I was. Because this whole stretch is the light posts look the same, the road looks the same, the trees look the same, the traffic lights look the same, and it's easy to get mixed up.
So they're passing the Half Moon Golf Course at this point in time, and even in the middle of a drought, it still looks really good.
It's a beautiful golf course.
Picturesque scenes here, and we're finally caught up with the leading pack, and we're going to get a closer look at the top 5. And
we have Chad leading the field here.
Yep.
And
Chad Conley.
Brighton John taking his pull, Scarano coming through second wheel, and Akil Campbell and Hasim Hennis bringing it up. Here's where the strategy is happening now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see let's put it this way, if I was in this group, I wouldn't want to be sprinting against this number 44. He looks like a big beast of a sprinter.
He's presently at the back, Chad Conley.
So if I was in this group, I wouldn't want, I don't know how he sprints, but I wouldn't want to be coming to the line with him. I'd be trying to, he looks like he would take a sprint if it comes down to a sprint.
Well, they all look pretty easy at the moment. Brighton John of Ghana and Andy Scarano just exchanging places at the back.
The speed in this group has cut right back now. All the riders are trying to just shake their legs out, get a little recovery, prepare themselves for the big effort, because the sprint is going to take a lot out of them. So they're just trying to take a little rest, a little recovery, build a little reserves.
That's Hassani Hennis out of Anguilla for AVR Racing, presently with the lead, just giving it up for the time being to Chad Conley. Now they're still very much in business together. They have made that business decision to just stick together for the time being until one or two pull away for that sprint. Then we'll have some indication as to who is the sprinter here. But yeah, it's interesting. It's tense. Who's going to make that move when? That's the question.
And the two 706 riders are disconnected. I'd like to know that my teammate is in front of me now if I need a lead out, if I'm the sprinter on this team. So we should see a little reshuffling coming, and you can see Brighton John hanging right back to the back, and the rider at the back, you're in a position to be the most surprised. You can spring a surprise easier from the back than from the front. So I think he's just where he wants to be now, and I think he knows he's outnumbered. He's going to have to try something special to get the victory here. But they seem to be rolling right down to the finish line for a classic sprint. So that's anybody's business at this moment. But Chad looks like a huge muscular guy, and I'd put my money on him if it comes to a heads-up sprint.
When would you stop this though, the rotating, if you were in there if you consider yourself to be a sprinter?
I think they've largely stopped now.
They've largely stopped?
I'm guessing we're about a kilometer from the line now, and they're starting to watch and they're starting to prepare for the sprint. Well, you
just saw a glimpse from the leader, Chad Conley, looking for Scarano. Scarano, the defending champion, now goes into second spot. And
they're preparing for the sprint now.
You get the impression now that they are.
And I still don't know exactly where the finish line is to be able to say much more, but they're starting to look around now and they're getting ready. They know that this is the final bit, and they're not racing anymore now, they're preparing to race. This is going to be a 250 meter race, and they're just rolling to that point, it seems.
So Scarano is in the lead for the time being. They're just about passing Coral Gardens. heading towards the finishing line. Heading towards Witter Village, to be more specific.
Okay.
Well, there's a breakaway, a little bit of a breakaway. So, Hassani Hennis and Andy Scarano, the top two.
Yeah, but I think we're very close to the line now.
Scarano with the lead. And
I get the impression here that Scarano may be riding for Chad here, but they continue to rotate.
yeah,
So I don't think the finish line is upon us yet. It's very hard to tell where we are to the finish line now, but we are close. And it looks like we're getting ready to wind up the sprint here. There we go. Here. So the line is upon us now and the sprint has started.
Yep, there won't be any more rotating after this. It's a dead-on sprint here.
And
Yep, they're coming up onto the finishing line, and
that looks like Hassani Ennis to me. We'll have to get a better look.
yep, it may have been Hassani Hennis who crossed the line first.
That was a 1-2 by Team AVR. And here we have the main field, see how much further back they are. It'll be interesting to see if they've reabsorbed Andrew Ramsey or if he's still out there on his own. We'd love to see that finish again from overhead, if possible. That would be, love to see how that developed.
This is the chasing pack at the moment, and they are some way behind.
Here
Let's
we
take
have
a look at the replay of it.
sprint. That's a 1-2 for Team AVR, and
Yeah, the two Americans actually finishing
fourth and fifth.
Fourth
So
and fifth.
all the major points going to
So Hassani Hennis, it seems, was the one who crossed the finishing line first.
the Anguillan rider, and then he would have been followed by Brighton John of Guyana, and he would have been followed by Akil Campbell of Trinidad, and Brighton John in third.
Again, these cyclists were pretty unknown to the Americans last time out, and I guess in the end they left it a little bit too late in terms of that final sprint, or even if they did, I wouldn't have expected to have been hustled out in the end as they were.
Yeah, very, very good job done by, and we don't know, there could have been possible that the 706 team had to do all the early riding to make this break, to establish this break, or could have been doing the majority of the work coming home, or it could be just that the other three riders are riding stronger than them.
Yeah.
So leaves us a lot of questions and a lot to look forward to for tomorrow's stage, which will be a little bit of a firecracker.
A little bit.
My favorite stage is going to be Sunday, though. That with those two loops of Duncans and those hills around those in the inner hills of Duncans,
Right.
two climbs. I think we're going to see a lot of firework and a lot of destruction, have a lot of fun on that day. I think they have two King of the Mountains prizes back to back on each of those loops of Duncans. So we're going to see the race shattered on Sunday, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Well, we're going to take a quick break here for more coverage of the Jamaica International Cycling Classic. When we return, we'll wrap up our coverage. Stay with us.
Group coming in.
Welcome back to our coverage, and this is the group that's coming in. It's a third batch with the majority of the riders just now crossing the line. And yeah, even some celebrate.
That look like two riders from AVR there. It looked like Cleveland Sharp and Andrew Ramsey. So it looks like Andrew Ramsey may have been reabsorbed by the group. I'd love to get another view of that field sprint to see if we can identify those riders properly for you.
Yeah, but the winner was decided about 4 or 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And
5 minutes and a few seconds ago, to be exact, Donald. That appears to be, it's hard to say, that looks like Cleveland Sharp to me, and then followed by Andrew Ramsey. So we have the AVR team performing real well today. They're coming in first, second, 6th and 7th.
They're here to do a job. They're here to do business.
Looks like they're here to do business. I think we're going to see a much more exciting race in terms of competitiveness than we did last year, where the 706 team just rode away with it.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to ride away with it so easily this time around. I hope not. If they win, I hope to see them earn it and have some stiff competition in getting there. They did a really fantastic ride last year, but I think a lot of these other riders are more prepared this year.
Well, they have to be even more prepared for the second leg, the second stage tomorrow. It's going to be a little bit more difficult, I suspect, with an additional 30 miles.
Yeah, certainly. So there's a lot. The attrition is going, the toll on the body is going to be a lot. a lot harder than today, and the time in the sun. And hopefully we'll bring you on a report on if we had any injuries from those crashes earlier today. It looks like everybody is okay. I have a small concern for Bradley McFarlane's collarbone there. I saw him holding that. We'll get you that report as we start before we go on air tomorrow, before we go live tomorrow.
So Hassani Hennis out of Anguilla has come to Jamaica and has won the first stage here. Hennis would have made his debut in his professional career back in 2019, so he's pretty much still young at this level, and just about 25 years old. He did compete at the UCI World Road Championships back in 2019, and those championships were pretty much wet and wild, so really difficult conditions for him to actually take part in. But he has come to Jamaica. He has laid on a marker here at the end of the first stage to come out on top, and yeah, he's been steadily getting support, and this win will mean a lot to the Anguillan, who actually started riding when he was just 10 years old. Hassani Hennis.
That's the age we want to get. You want to get started as a rider.
Yep.
There's so much to learn before you get to 18 and 20, where you start riding professionally or as an amateur.
He did represent Anguilla at the 2018 Commonwealth Games in Australia. Actually came 34th in the time trial. So it's someone who has been improving, and as I said before, just pretty much started his road career, road professional career. A little time after that did Hennis, and it was good to see him and other Caribbean athletes competing here at the Jamaica International Cycling Classic.
And we look forward to seeing it again tomorrow, and hopefully we have a different mix of riders, because we'd love to be coming into the third day with the race wide on the line, with 5 or 6 riders able to win it on the last day, to keep things really exciting for us.
Just last year, Hassani Hennis would have run the cross-country championships in Belize, so he knows how to win these championships and these stages. And yeah, one of our standouts, and there he is crossing the line first, just ahead of his teammate, and he may be one to consider. Hennis finishing ahead of Akil Campbell and Breton John.
And before we start tomorrow, we'll give a complete listing of the point standing and what we're looking at for the stage tomorrow. But the lion's share of the points have gone to these 3 riders today.
Yep. A wonderful start to the Jamaica International Cycling Classic, with the ending at Witter Village in Montego Bay. We'll be back here early again tomorrow morning at pretty much the same time, at around 7:25 a.m. Jamaica time, to take you through a much longer stage that will involve us going all the way to Discovery Bay and back. We thank you for joining us here on the Home of Champions on behalf of the hardworking production team and Mr. Kynan Cook as well. Thank you so much for coming once more, and we'll be back tomorrow morning to do it all over again. Stay with us on SportsMax.